Greetings.
Hello.
George Sleeper doing an audio check.
Loud and clear, George.
Thanks, Kate.
How you doing, George?
I'm well, Scott. Did you guys go somewhere for spring break?
We did. We went to Florida. It was very nice. Went down to New Smyrna
Excellent.
Beach, and we did nothing but the pool and the beach and the beach and the pool. Didn't go near an amusement park or anything else. It was kind of nice.
Good. Looks like you got a little bit of color there.
I got some sun. I got to rescue a shark. I had all sorts of fun. So yeah,
Well, welcome back.
thank you. Kate, how was Monday?
Monday was good. Monday
Nice.
was good.
Nice.
We definitely got back to some more spring-like weather versus the summer-like weather we've been having. So it definitely cooled down over the weekend.
Yeah, which is good. It's good. Everybody's supposed to be on the meeting tonight that you're aware of. Any call-offs?
No one has called off.
Okay, cool.
Have you seen the latest report for water levels by June?
No, I haven't, Steve.
Down 11 inches.
From last year?
So, so instead of going up, they're gonna keep going down.
Well, I'll take a look at it. I'll get with staff.
Thanks, bud.
Thanks.
Hey, Kate, this is Jeff.
Hi, Jeff.
It says that the host won't let me start my camera.
I just made you a co-host, so go ahead and start that camera.
All right. Hey, there we go. Thank you.
Good evening, Jeff.
Hello.
All right, we got everybody. It's, according to my computer, it's 7 o'clock. According to my phone, it's almost 7 o'clock. Looks like everybody's here. Kate, are you at 7 o'clock in your world?
I've got 6:59.
Oh, so close.
And I think we're at 7 o'clock now.
All right. Well, good evening, everybody. My computer is back on. Good. This is the regularly scheduled meeting of the South Haven City Council. We're still home. It's Monday, April the 12th, 2021, and I'll call this meeting to order. And if we can get the roll call, please.
Jeff Arnold,
Here.
Chris Campbell,
Here.
Joe Reeser,
Here.
Steve Schlock,
Here.
George Sleeper,
Here.
Letitia Wilkins,
Here.
Scott Smith.
Here. That takes us to the approval of the agenda.
Steve Slack, I'll make a motion to approve the agenda.
Jeff Arnold, I'll second.
We have a motion, we have a second. This will be a roll call, please.
Arnold,
Yes.
Campbell,
Yes.
Reeser,
Yes.
Schlack,
Yes.
Sleeper,
Yes.
Wilkins,
Yes.
Yes. Next, we have a proclamation for, we have another South Haven centenarian. So I will read this for the group and for our centenarian, Miss Lois Jewell. Whereas on February the 21st, 2021, Lois Jewell, a resident of South Haven, who is affectionately known to many as Mother Jewell, turned 100 years old. And whereas Ms. Jewell was born in Waukegan, Illinois, and was raised in Chicago, Illinois. And whereas as a teenager, Ms. Jewell spent summers at a family farm in Kibbe, Michigan, enjoying the beach and shopping excursions to town. And whereas in 1944, Ms. Jewell and her family moved to South Haven, and her 3 children, George, Ronald, and Sandra Stansberry, attended South Haven Public Schools. And whereas Ms. Jewell worked as a domestic worker until an employment opportunity opened for her at the South Haven Hospital in the Dietary Service Department. She worked there from 1966 until her retirement in 1986. And whereas Ms. Jewell has been a proud resident of Briar Hills since September 1985. And whereas over the years, Ms. Jewell has been actively involved with the church and her family. Her aunt was Reverend Mary Rowland, who was the founder and pastor of Kibbe Community Church. Ms. Jewell is presently a member of Greater Faith Community Church. And whereas Ms. Jewell volunteers at the Senior Services Center, the Warren Center, and with the South Haven Tribune. Also, she enjoys reading and listening to music. Now, therefore be it resolved that the City of South Haven wishes to recognize Ms. Lois Jewell for her 100th birthday and convey warm wishes for her continued health and well-being. And again, happy birthday. And Kate, we should probably work on doing some hand deliveries of these proclamations so we can say hi to these folks. So
Oh, yeah, absolutely will.
project for a future day. So again, happy belated birthday. That takes us to the consent agenda, items A through G.
Mayor, one thing to note on this, we have in there, we wanted to put the minutes for March 1st, but we inadvertently put in the March 1 meeting minutes. We'll just note that we'll put in the March 15 meeting minutes, our meeting next week. So my apologies on consent agenda item A.
Oh, okay. Oh, gotcha. Gotcha.
Steve Slack, I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda with the aforementioned change.
This is Joe Reeser. I'll second it.
Very good. We have a motion. We have a second. Are there any other questions? Seeing none, this is a roll call, please.
Campbell,
Yes.
Reeser,
Yes.
Black,
Yes.
Sleeper,
Yes.
Wilkins,
Yes.
Arnold,
Yes.
Yes. That takes us to new business. The City Council will be asked to consider the approval of the following special event applications. First, we have special event 2021-07, the Memorial Day Parade 2021 to be held on May the 31st, 2021, from 9 a.m. until 11 a.m., beginning at the corner of Center Street and Michigan Avenue and ending at the Lakeview Cemetery.
This is Steve Slack. I'll make a motion to approve special event 2021-07 as read.
Jeff Arnold, I'll second.
Very good. We have a motion. We have a second. Kate?
Yes, sir. We have the Memorial Day Parade 2021 that will be held, as noted, at the corner of Center and Michigan, with ending at Lakeview Cemetery. The American Legion will be helping put this on, and I think we do have at least one person here from that organization. They want to put their hand up. I'm not sure if that's Linda Baker or Mr. Hedman here. But they will be helping put this together and have put their application in. The meeting will have a step off at, I'm sorry, the parade will have a step off at 0900 hours, and it's the route that has been normally taken. Their ceremony will begin at 9:45 and complete by 1100 hours or 11 a.m.
Very good. Thank you. Is someone on the line that wants to speak to it? If not, we can go on. If someone wants to speak to it, we're happy to. Again, I thank the organizers. As always, it's always hard to put one of these events on. It is especially hard right now with the current state of the COVID pandemic. So our thanks to the organizers for recognizing the importance of the Memorial Day ceremonies. And I'm not seeing anybody jump in, Kate. So we have a motion, we have a second. Can we get a roll call, please?
Reeser,
Yes.
Schlack,
Yes.
Sleeper,
Yes.
Wilkins,
Yes.
Arnold,
Yes.
Campbell,
Yes.
and Smith.
Yes. That takes us to special event 2021-08. The reading of names Memorial Day 2021 to be held at 12 p.m. on May the 31st at City Hall front lawn. For the flag to be raised from half staff to full staff, followed by reading of the names of the Michigan combat deaths from the Vietnam War.
This is George Sleeper. I make a motion to approve special event 2021-08, the reading names Memorial Day 2021.
Steve Slack, I'll second.
All right, we have a motion. We have a second. Kate, anything different with this year?
Nothing new, nothing different this year. Again, this will be the observance and the reading of the names on the City Hall front lawn. This year, they will be reading the names of fallen U.S. soldiers during the Vietnam War. And we'll be raising the flag from half staff to full staff during this event.
Okay, very good. And again, I thank the organizers. Any organizers on the phone that you're aware of, Kate? And if not,
I do not see Mr. Massey or Mr. Hogan's names up here. I do know that they are the organizers, but they've been we've been in touch about this event and corrected some things that were put in the packet last time. So I think this will be a very well turned out event. They always do a good job of reading off those names. It's a solemn affair.
very good. Thank you. And again, thank you to the organizers. So we have a motion and a second to approve special event 2021-08, the reading of the names Memorial Day 2021. If we can get a roll call, please.
Schlack,
Yes.
Sleeper,
Yes.
Wilkins,
Yes.
Arnold,
Yes.
Campbell,
Yes.
Reeser,
Yes.
Yes. Next is special event 2021-09, National Day of Prayer 2021, to be held on the front lawn of City Hall on May the 6th, 2021, from 12 p.m. until 1 p.m. The Boy Scouts will raise the flag and recite the Pledge of Allegiance, sing songs, and pray.
This is Jeff Arnold. I'll make a motion to approve special event 2021-09 as the mayor has read it.
Steve Slack, I'll second.
Very good. We have a motion and a second. Kate,
Yes,
Anything-
sir.
add other than what's there?
Nothing more to add. Just another National Day of Prayer on the front hall of City front lawn of City Hall. Nothing new to add.
Okay, very good. All right. Any council questions on this one? We don't have any, I guess we should double check. Kate, any other, I'm not seeing any other public, haven't seen any hands raised, but I guess just remind folks, *9 or the raise your hand icon.
That's correct, sir. *9 or the raise your hand icon. So far, I'm not seeing any hands raised.
So seeing none, let's go ahead and roll call special event 2021-09, the National Day of Prayer.
Sleeper,
Yes.
Wilkins,
Yes.
Arnold,
Yes.
Campbell,
Yes.
Reeser,
Yes.
Schlack,
Yes.
Smith.
Yes. Very good. That is it for our special events, and that will take us up to the next item, which is City Council will be asked to consider an introduction of an amendment to the short-term rental ordinance.
This is Joe Reeser. I would like to propose the city consider an introduction of an amendment of the short-term rental amendment.
Thanks, sir.
George Sleeper, I'll second that.
Very good. We have a motion. We have a second. And again, I'll have Kate give us an explanation. We'll get some public comments and we'll get to council comments. And again, as the public wants to get in the queue, it's *9, or you can raise your hand, hit that icon. So Kate, again, you want to just walk us through what we're looking at here?
Yes, sir. The city council asked at their January 18th meeting to have the planning commission consider an ordinance amendment to revise the formula that we use to calculate the maximum number of short-term rental business units allowed in the city. This formula is commonly known as the 1-to-4 ratio. And the council specifically requested the planning commission consider amending the formula to so that it does not take into account certain dwelling units that cannot be realistically used as short-term rentals. We've determined that there's a total of 42 single-family dwelling units in the city that are subsidized by the Housing Commission. This number was obtained by parcel records and the commission's website. And we determined that there's 344 dwelling units located within large apartment complexes that, for the purposes of this calculation, dwelling units within the multifamily buildings like condominium projects that have more than 12 units. This method made counting for fairly easy and made it easy for us to excerpt them out. So to talk more about the potential short-term rental statistics, I have both Travis Sullivan and Nick Curcio on the line to kind of go into this formula and what the planning commission has reviewed. Nick, can you start us off and we'll have Travis kind of chime in with the planning commission?
Sure. As Kate said, there's been some discussion for a while at both the city council level and the planning commission level that when the original formula for calculating the 1-to-4 ratio was put into the zoning code, it maybe didn't reflect that some of the housing units that are included, both in the numerator and the denominator of the formula, can't realistically be used as short-term rentals. And the planning commission gave some thought as to how to best exert some of those categories out of the formula, and ones that could be done easily and from an administrative standpoint. And these were the two categories that were ultimately settled upon. The first being subsidized housing through the Housing Commission, That's a very easily identifiable number that the Housing Commission keeps track of. And then the second is apartment buildings in large apartment complexes, as opposed to apartments in kind of more scattered uses like duplexes, for example, are kind of scattered throughout the city and are harder to locate. These kind of major apartment complexes were very easy for staff to pinpoint. So for ease of administration, we focused on those two categories of houses and written a very simple amendment to the formula that's shown on page, let's see, 114 and 115 of the packet. All of the new proposed language is in red underline on page 115 of the packet. This exact language was discussed by the city council, I believe, at its February, I think it says February 4th meeting, then went to the planning commission for public hearing and is now back at the city council level in an identical form as it's been since the February meeting. No changes were recommended along the way. So this is the same ordinance the council has seen before. And that's all I have. Travis, did you have anything to add?
No, I think that pretty much covers everything. Yeah, I think it was, I think the council discussed this January 18th, took a look at the draft ordinance February 4th. Planning Commission took a look at it right after that. But at that time, we had not had time yet to notice it for a public hearing. So we noticed it in March. Held the public hearing at the Planning Commission level and at the March meeting, and then they recommended this ordinance as it was presented to the city council previously for approval.
Very good. All right, well, you guys stay in the line. Why don't we open it up for some public comments right now, and then we'll come back to some council comments. So again, *9 or raise your hands, and we'll have up to 5 minutes to address the council, and I'll have Kate call folks up as their names come up.
No hands raised just yet, sir.
All right. Give them a couple seconds, close that, and then we'll get to council comments. Still see nobody. Still nobody?
No, nobody's yet put their hand up, sir.
All right, let's go ahead. So I'll just kick this discussion off and then we'll hear from council. This has been one that I think we caught shortly after this was created. I know I have mentioned it a few times, talked about it with staff. And kind of one important thing I think that it's important for all of us to kind of continue to agree with is that rentals are a reality. We have to be willing to talk about them. This is just a discussion, and it's, you know, it's an amendment to fix an ordinance that was created. So let's start with that. A lot of these units are not, these aren't neighborhoods, these aren't single family homes. And I would say that there's a reason we split out condominiums at the beginning, and that was because we really were trying to focus on single family dwellings and residential neighborhoods. This is about neighborhoods. It's a lot of the concern has come up. It's what's happening to our neighborhoods, what's happening to our community, the year-round nature of our town, our school. You know, it's some of the impetus of some of these, you know, these discussions and just understanding what rentals are and what they mean. So that's, again, we have rentals. We've done a lot of things through the years to kind of continue to understand them better. So just so we're clear, the exclusions of some of these units, I agree 100%. I don't have a problem at all with removing them. I mean, we're talking, you're including units such as Briar Hills apartment. Again, many of these, they can't even be rented, sublet or, you know, short-term rented. We're talking about River Ridge Retirement Village apartments in here, River Terrace, Harbor View. Again, these are housing commission, you know, buildings. So that's the numbers we're extracting from this formula. So again, I'm arguing this is getting us a little closer to our looking at our single family residential neighborhood. So that I will vote in favor because we're getting closer to what I view as a look at our single family residential neighborhood housing stock. And that's my comments. Any other comments? Steve.
My question just, and I understand that this is just the introduction, but I'm wondering how this changes the bottom line number of available rentals as to what we have now. And also wondering if council could get a report on the legal cost and the staff cost to redo this ordinance so that we know what goes into the costs of the permits and everything else that we're having to deal with in the future on this rental ordinance. Thank you.
Sounds good. Hey, Travis, you have the numbers right offhand on the changes?
Yeah, so this would effectively reduce the number of non-exempt certificates that would be available. If the ordinance were adopted as written, it would lower the number of the total number of non-exempt business short-term rentals to 487. Going into this year, we had 319 of those certificates that had been issued. So that would leave us with 168 certificates left. So that would be where we would be standing numbers wise if this ordinance were to be approved.
Okay, so we have 168 still available.
Yes, we would have to look to see what we've issued here in the last couple of months. I mean, that number may be slightly lower now. But that's a number we can get if you'd like that at the next meeting.
Yeah, that'd be good. Again, it's still a large number. Well, that's, I guess, what we need to understand. So very good. Any other questions? Oh, Joe, go ahead.
Yes, Steve mentioned cost about the short-term rental and anything associated. I have a real specific question. Legal costs are always high. My question to Nick is, during the past 3 years, generally speaking, every time you attend one of city council meetings like tonight, and we're talking and asking you to discuss short-term rentals, is the city paying for that, or is there a flat fee we pay you monthly or yearly, or is it per appearance?
So it's an hourly fee, so it is paid on time expended. Like for tonight's meeting example, I don't attend meetings obviously unless requested by the city manager. For tonight's meeting, I was requested to attend both for this item and for the building fee item that's coming up later and is unrelated to short-term rentals. So I would say a lot of the times there's multiple items and we try to package them together. So I'm not coming to every meeting. But I'm sure on occasion, there's probably times where I'm attending just for a short-term rental item. But again, we try to be as efficient as we can and make sure I'm attending as few meetings as possible. Does that answer the question?
Yes, so tied in with that, every time a business person who has questions or questions the city on a short-term rental and any legality surrounding that, and you get involved, that's costing the city money, and that gets pushed back into the short-term rental cost. That's a separate entity. Is that correct, Kate?
That's correct. When we have costs that are allocated to short-term rental questions or permits or anything, we specifically code them so that they are in the program costs, so that we can track them and also figure out what the program costs are from year to year.
Thank you.
All right, any other questions?
Mayor, I will get back with Steve on his costs as to the legal costs and staff time costs for the amendment. I know he requested that earlier. I'll make sure that I follow up with Councilmember Slack and get that information for him.
Perfect, thank you. All right, we have no other questions. We have a motion, we have a second to introduce the ordinance. So let's do a roll call, please.
Wilkins,
Yes.
Arnold,
Yes.
Campbell,
Yes.
Reeser,
Yes.
Black,
Yes.
Sleeper,
Yes.
Yes. That takes us to item 8. City Council will be asked to consider an introduction of a proposed ordinance to repeal section 10-27 of the South Haven Code of Ordinances that results in the doubling of the permit fee should an individual commence work without a building permit.
This is George Sleeper. I make a motion to introduce a proposed ordinance to repeal section 10-27 of the South Haven Code of Ordinances that results in the doubling of the permit fee should an individual commence work without a building permit.
Letitia Wilkins, I'll second.
Very good. We have a motion. We have a second. And I know I've got a couple of people here, including Nick, to chat about this. So, Kate, go ahead.
Well, thank you, sir. Staff have been noticing that there has been a number of individuals who have started work without a permit around the city. And we've had a hard time trying to get when we do the effective doubling of the permit fee, we've been looking at that ordinance. Griffin Graham, Assistant City Manager, looked over this ordinance along with the City Attorney Nick Curcio. And I'll have both of them jump in here, but it's my understanding that the doubling of the permit fee is actually unconstitutional. So one would be subject to challenge. And two, it was found that probably establishing a flat fee would be one, more judicious, and two, easier to figure out. As you know, as we've looked at permit building fees, it can run the gamut of pricing depending on what has been reported. So this would be a flat fee that would be applied should a person start work without pulling a permit or obtaining a permit from the building department. To go more into that, I have Nick Curcio here. Nick and Griffin, if you want to jump in. I know that Nick has looked this over and Griffin has helped bring this to this point. So Nick, you want to summarize what's going on here?
Sure. So I guess there are two potential problems we're trying to address at the same time. The first problem is that, and I understand this is the most common application of this ordinance, is on very low dollar construction projects. The people will, I guess, will kind of figure this because it's such a small project, they don't go in and get their building permit. And then because the cost of the building permit is tied to the cost of the project, the amount of the fee and the amount of the doubled fee turns out to be very low. If so, for example, you can look at the charts for building permits, but for the lowest dollar value of project, which is construction under $1,000, the permit fee is $50, which means the doubled fee is only $100. And staff was finding that that's not a sufficient deterrent to cause people to go in and actually get their building permit on low dollar projects. So by moving it to a $250 flat fee, it's increasing the fee on a large number of these situations that the city's finding where people tend to not get building permits. The second problem is that for very high dollar value projects, the doubling of the fee results in very, very high fees. Like, for example, like a $900,000 construction project, the doubled fee would be in the $7,000 range. And that's probably not proportionate to the cost that the city incurs when someone doesn't get a building permit, which means that fee would be probably subject to challenge. Now, in reality, that doesn't happen very often on large construction projects. I think people tend to get their building permits pooled. It's really the small dollar projects that are kind of the impetus for this ordinance. So I think effectively this is going to be a fee increase in most situations that this is intended to address. But it's worth noting that at the high end of construction values, this fee is potentially subject to challenge, the double fee formula. So going to a flat fee solves both of those problems. In order to do it, the city would need to repeal a section of the ordinance that establishes the flat fee. And then we're proposing that the new $250 flat fee be imposed by resolution and just implemented into the fee schedule so that it could be adjusted easier in the future if it needs to be adjusted. And again, we have a sample fee schedule at pages 128 and 129 of the agenda packet. Council's not being asked to act on that tonight because it's just a first reading of the ordinance, but both items would be brought to council at the next meeting when we ask for final adoption of the proposed ordinance. Griffin, was there anything that you'd like to add?
The only thing I'd add, and Nick, you could probably even speak to it better than I could, but my understanding is in Nick's research regarding establishing the fee structure this way, this was consistent with how many other communities currently address this situation. It's also worth noting that for those larger dollar amounts, where you may sit there and go, what's a $250 fine going to do for someone who's got thousands and thousands of dollars worth of building permits? There are other steps outlined by the state, including submitting contractors' names to Laura and pursuing other types of civil infractions in the city's ordinances that can be used to prevent or address more egregious concerns if needed.
Right, and they could also theoretically prosecute someone for a civil infraction, perhaps for a repeated offender or something like that. So again, that just goes to, there's additional remedies besides this fee if there's repeat offenders that could be pursued.
This really is stemming from, as many of you are aware, there's a lot of different size construction projects going on in the community, and really qualified and reputable contractors tend to be unavailable for some of these smaller projects that folks are trying to work on. And the building department has just struggled to be able to make sure people are getting the permits they need to. So we're bringing this before you all as a tool to help us hold people accountable.
And one thing to note is that while this repeals the section in the ordinance that says that a permit must be obtained prior to construction start, that is still a requirement under the Michigan Building Code. Is that correct, Nick?
Yes, that's correct. There's several provisions in the city's ordinance that are kind of redundant of the building code. But just because it's repealing that language doesn't mean it wouldn't be in effect any longer. We still can enforce the building code directly and require people obtain permits and post permits before work starts.
Thank you, Nick. Thank you, Griffin.
All right, thanks, everybody. Hang tight, we might have some questions. Public comments, *9, or you can hit the raise your hand icon. We'll keep an eye out for a minute or so. Any council comments as we're waiting for public comments or questions? Mr. Joe Reeser, I see your hand up.
Just for clarification, maybe everyone else knows this, but I guess I don't. When we talk about these fees, that's a fee so they can do the project. That has nothing to do with fines if they don't get the, if they don't get the contracts that do it. They have to, if they do it, they have to pay a fee. If they don't get it, there's a fine, and that's completely separate. Am I correct?
What we're talking about tonight is actually that separate amount that they have to pay if they're caught not doing it. So we have a surcharge of 120. Well, the proposal is a surcharge of $250 that gets added to the permit fee if you're obtaining a permit late. Basically, if you get caught doing work without a permit and the city tells you you have to go get one, they tack that amount on there.
So we're really talking about the fines.
It's right. It's not technically a fine in legalese, but yes, it's kind of the penalty, so to speak.
Okay.
For not coming
I
in.
guess I was. Thank you.
Sure.
Yeah, so again, just a tool to make sure we're getting our permits pulled. The other fee structure is a separate entity for building permits. Steve, go ahead.
How many of these instances happened in the last 12 months where the small projects went without getting a permit that you caught? Thank you.
I don't have a specific number for you at this time, but we can work to get that information for you at the next meeting.
If we could have that information for when it's goes to adoption, I would appreciate that. Thank you.
We'll get that.
Absolutely.
Sounds good. I'm not seeing any hands. Ms. Kate, have you seen anything on your end?
No hands, sir. I do not see anyone raising their hand to speak on this item.
Okay. So any other council questions? Pretty straight ahead. Again, this is simply an introduction. We have a motion. We have a second to introduce the proposed ordinance to repeal section 10-27. Let's do roll call, please.
Arnold,
Yes.
Campbell,
Yes.
Reeser,
Yes.
Schlack,
Yes.
Sleeper,
Yes.
Wilkins,
Yes. Yeah.
Smith,
Yes. And the next item, the city council will be asked to consider approval of a proposal bid from Aetna Supply for the installation of an advanced metering infrastructure or AMI system in the amount of $1,981,910 and authorize staff to execute the necessary documents.
This is Steve Schlack. I'll make a motion to consider the approval of proposal bid from Aetna Supply for the installation of the advanced metering infrastructure as read.
This is Joe Reeser. I'll second it.
All right, we have a motion, we have a second. Again, *9 or raise your hand for public comments. We'll get there in just a second. And I know I have Bill Hunter, who's going to probably tell us about that dollar amount and what we're doing.
Thank you, Your Honor. Just a little background on the proposals, how we got to this recommendation. December 11th of 2020, we opened up bids for the AMI system, Advanced Metering Infrastructure. Bids read aloud. They had Aetna Supply at $2,056,910, Landis and Gear, $2,059,136, Annixter, which was $1,995,409.83, and Tantalus Systems, which was $2,214,559.66. Staff reviewed all the bids and set up actually interviews and with three of the low bidders, Aetna Supply, Annixter, and Landis and Gear. Annixter is actually goes by another name as well, Itron. So you might hear me say Itron through here, but it is Annixter. During the review of Itron's proposal, staff discovered actually that they didn't actually include installation. In addition to that, they had shipping fees on there as well, which was to be excluded on the bid. They actually were submitting a alternative to meet bid specs, meaning they didn't meet bid specs. During the review and the interview process, Landis and Gear, we discovered actually they included the radio frequency registers for the water meters, which was outlined actually in the request for proposals as additional information or additional bids. So they just lumped it all into one, which adjusted their bid to $1,526,264. Again, they provided an alternative to meet bid specifications. It was a mesh system they were providing. In addition to that, one step back, actually, Annixter or Itron was submitting a mesh system as well. Aetna Supply, they did actually in their bid proposal during the interview process, there was some base stations, some smaller ones to meet the request for proposals to cover the whole South Haven Area Water Sewer Authority. So those could be actually pulled out of their proposal, which puts them at the $1,981,910. Just to give you a little background on mesh systems, use 900 megahertz frequency. There's a lot of infrastructure involved. What you do is you have a signal that relays from meter to meter, and they have these nodes, or you can call them like another antenna, where they actually help and transmit the data. There are some benefits actually to the mesh network. They claim it's self-healing. That's one thing. There's the cons of it. There's 900 megahertz. There's a lot of interference with them. You have to prioritize the signal, meaning you have to go through everything that meter could transmit and anything else you use the system on, and you have to prioritize it because there's only so much bandwidth they can actually have. The point-to-point system, which is what Aetna submitted their proposal on and what actually the RFP was set up for, is just a two-way point-to-point. So from the meter to the base station, that's it. It is a licensed frequency, but my experience getting licensed frequency is really not that big of an issue. Plus, if you have a licensed frequency, if anybody is close to that frequency or maybe a little dirty in the signal, you can actually get the FCC involved and tell them to clean up their channel. Staff has had experience with mesh systems. We had a SCADA system involved for lift stations for a number of years. Constant problems with it, constant interference with it, actually low delays. We abandoned that system, I want to say at least 3 years ago, and actually went with a whole different system, so it's no longer used. During our meeting, actually the Board of Public Utility meetings on March 29th, we presented the proposals to the board, and they recommended actually that City Council approve the installation of the AMI system, and the proposal actually from Aetna Supply low bid. I'm here to answer any questions City Council may have about this proposal.
Sounds good. Thank you, Bill. I know there's probably several. I'll throw out the first one. I'll let some folks throw in some others. I'll come back. Can you talk to us about what we should expect as far as ongoing maintenance of the system? Maybe that, and how about start before that, why and what's it, why do we need it? I think a lot of folks might be curious. And then ongoing maintenance. How's that? 2-part. 1, why, and 2, ongoing maintenance.
Okay, those are very, very good question. Improve customer service, improving our customer service to our customers. We'll get calls actually a lot during outages. For example, the outage we had Thursday night from 8 p.m. to 10:30. You could ask me, or someone could ask me in an email, well, who's out? I don't know who's out. I don't get I can get an alarm actually at a substation, but I don't know the extent of how many people are out or what's the area out, what frequency, what circuit is out. These are things that I don't know without actually having a AMI system. Another thing, well, you mentioned actually ongoing maintenance. A lot of your maintenance actually once installed is just your system maintenance, meaning the storage of the data, the use of the program. So that's an annual maintenance, and I believe that's hosting fees. So you're looking at probably $35,600 a year, and another additional enhanced hosting, and then asset management. So. And that's actually hosting all the data over there. If we actually decided to host it here, we would have to ramp up with servers, and there'd be probably more cost involved. Some cities actually have done that in the past, Your Honor, but they always switch back to actually going to a hosting because it's just so much easier. They guarantee the data.
Yep. Got it. That's perfect. That makes a lot of good sense. So that's, as you mentioned, I think it's very important that people understand that, I know I'm always fascinated that, it's tough to know where a line goes down, and it's a lot of go find it. It's not that easy to find. So that'll be helpful to your crew to get these power outages identified quicker, which is, as you said, very big for customer service and safety. It's gets the lights back on. So very good. Other council questions, and then also just a reminder, public comment *9. Or raise your hand, and I'll throw that out. Do we have any public comments coming yet, Kate? I've thrown that out there, so got none. We'll give another 30 seconds, and then council, any other questions or comments for Bill?
And there's been no one raising their hand or dialing *9 that we can see.
Awesome. Bill, you wowed everybody. Good work. All right. Very important acquisition. So we have a motion. Da-da-da. Yeah, we got a motion a second right on this one. Did we?
Yes, there was a motion by Steve Schlack.
Perfect.
And seconded by Reeser.
Perfect. Got it. All right, we have a motion. We have a second. Roll call, please.
Campbell,
Yes.
Reeser,
Yes.
Schlack,
Yes.
Sleeper,
Yes.
Wilkins,
Yes.
Arnold,
Yes.
Smith.
Yes. And now we get an update from Mr. Bill Hunter, our Public Works Director. And hey, Bill, you're going to have some work to do here. When are you going to get started? We can start with that and then give us your update. How's that sound?
As soon as we get contract negotiated and signed.
All right. Good deal.
We're hoping actually to start the process this fall, at least have the stations put in, then we can start actually doing the meter change out. So
Very good.
that'll be just an update to City Council, DPW, Phoenix Street Bike Path. That's still ongoing. We're expecting to receive for this project $144,783 in federal funds. And for the bike path, another $80,000 for road construction. Resurfacing. Street resurfacing projects, we have a couple underway as we speak. Prospect, Hubbard, Michigan, from Prospect to Hubbard and Kalamazoo. These projects are actually our first projects where we're replacing the lead services. As City Council is aware, changes to the Safe Water Drinking Act in 2018 changed the definition of lead service to include anything or any service that has lead in it, which included galvanized services. So this is one of the projects that we start. This, like I stated before in the budget, we're budgeting actually $625,000 a year. State mandated, we replace at least 5% per year for the next 20 years. And it's going to be total cost at the end of the 20 years of $15.9 million. AMI project, we just discussed that just a little bit ago. Concrete standpipe, I had a conversation with our bond consultant, and we're going to start the process of getting the cash flow analysis ready to bond actually for the concrete standpipe replacement. Now, Kentucky Lift Station, we took that over just recently, and staff is doing improvements there to get it up to city standards. Culvert flushing rate, we're still working on that. We should have some numbers finalized by next week and be able to present something to the SHASA board. Distribution system materials inventory. Again, this is another change that happened as a result of the changes to the Safe Water Drinking Act, lead and copper. We submitted one actually last year, and this is actually what they're calling is the finalized version. They're giving us actually until January 1st of 2025. New substation project, we're working with a consultant on that. Currently, staff is looking at alternative routes to save costs and perhaps actually with the help of maybe some properties that could give us some easements. So nothing new to report at that time. Cross connection inspections, those are still ongoing. I will always put this in here just to let the public know. HydroCorp actually is working with a contract on behalf of SHASA. Every connection that's ties to our system needs to be inspected. And yes, that does include residential. FYI, I got my letter and I set up an appointment. So they're coming to my house, I think next week. Electric vehicle charging units. We have 2 scheduled actually for the Huron parking lot. I talked to the vendor last week and had a meeting with our electrical crew just on the placements and where they could run actually lines to. Core City Phase 5 is underway. South clarifier at the wastewater treatment plant. We had a critical failure of the south clarifier. We had to enact as part of the SHASA ordinance emergency repairs. That was done to the clarifier as the total on those repairs were $82,000. It was a motor that's on the top of it. Clarifier works actually, it's like a big bowl. And they got a big sweep on the bottom and your sewage goes in there and that sweep actually suspends solids and reacts with your the chemicals you put into and it actually helps suspend or the solids even better than the clarifier motors. Actually, the company was no longer in business, so we had to actually have it made. Bear Park, that was actually amendment. That was actually in the consent agenda. We will be getting that signed and hopefully getting the fence installed soon. There might be some delay on this just because of steel prices. County 911 antenna, been working actually with the county, meeting with them. They're installing a new antenna on top of the tank and back of Walmart. And that's all I have for a city council, other than, well, the power outage actually on Thursday. We had a power outage on Thursday. 2.5 hours. The input I got from AEP was lightning strikes. There was a lot of lightning to the south of us and to the north. We didn't get it, but something got hit. It did actually drop both feeds. Power was out for the whole section of AEP section of Michigan, including actually Fort Wayne, South Bend. On another additional note, it wasn't just AEP and PJM, it was also MISO. MISO is the other provider, transmission provider in Michigan, because the thumb was out, and MISO, actually Holland and Saugatuck. So it was there's a lot of areas out in Michigan. City Council, have any questions on any of the projects I just presented to them?
Oh, Steve, go ahead.
On the cross connection program, can you remind me of the inspection frequency on regarding commercial and residential?
Commercial varies. If you're a high hazard and you're classified as Steve, that's an annual thing. Residential is once every 10 years. So they're going to get in once every 10 years. You're living at that place, and the residential ones are very easy. The residential ones, a lot of times all they're doing is going down to the basement, taking a look, and then walking the outside perimeter. That's it. They're not going in your kitchen or anything like that. They're most of the time they're gonna, lack of a better term, they're looking at do you have the proper like hose bib vacuum breakers on the outside, or does your faucet meet some newer faucets already are built-in vacuum breakers? Like I just installed those in my house, so I'm good. But a lot of times you can just get a hose bib and just tie it on to the faucet itself. Part of their contract, actually, they carry 2 on their truck per inspections, and they'll hand those out. So that's a good thing. To get back on the residential, the commercial. So you have the high hazards and you have the low hazards. And I thought the low hazards were every 3 years, Steve, for commercial.
Thank you.
All right, very good. Any other questions? I know, Bill, questions are popping up, and maybe we can just put something out by just public questions about the ongoing use of the HESCO, the barriers down at the beach. And so, I've been explaining to folks that the water's still high and, where they will be there, but I don't know if you just want to share any thoughts on the barriers as they stand right now.
The barrier.
Oh, lost you.
Yep. Let me see if I can get him to unmute again.
Sorry, accidentally pressed that. My apologies. We were actually keeping those actually in the same like a month-to-month basis, just based on elevation of water.
Yep.
So month to month we'll check it out, and if it looks, and if staff will meet and evaluate those at this time. Historically, they're supposed to, the water's at its lowest point, I believe, in February, and then historically Lake Michigan goes up. But if it looks like the trend is not, then we'll evaluate it and make that call then.
Sounds good.
That's what we were looking at right now.
Yeah, and that's what I've been sharing. But I just think it's good for kind of just to keep hearing that it's being reviewed, being discussed. We know they're there, but let's face it, last year at this time, we were battling water in the parking lot. So we're not going to rush to remove them until we see it's down. So very good. Thanks to you and your staff again for getting the power and everything operational again. If there's no other questions. Oh, sorry, George, go ahead.
Hey, Bill, I know I've heard that you're you're having meetings to get input on the lane diet on Business Loop 196. Do you want to just put in a plug for that?
Oh, yes.
I know we're evaluating that.
Yes, I'm that good. Thank you. I completely lost that one. I've been having DPW office hours every Wednesday from 5 to 7. And if somebody emails me, what I do is I send them a link so I can set up one-on-one and get their input on how they feel the traffic calming project on LaGrange/Broadway from Aylworth to Phoenix is working. Once I have everything over the next month, I'll present it to City Council. And I just tell people There was some confusion. Some people thought it was a meeting, and we wanted it as office hours because there are certain people that if they're amongst a group, they're not going to give their input. So we thought more of a one-on-one. So when somebody does come in, I can see them on the Zoom and I let one person in and then another. So just get their input, and I had somebody go through, document everything, and like I said, I'm going to accumulate it and then present it to City Council.
Sounds
5
good.
to 7 every Wednesday
Very
at
good.
night.
Thank you.
Thank you, George.
Thanks for clarifying that. That's a later evening, not the early morning. Very good. All right. No other questions? Seeing none. We are at the point in the meeting where citizens in the audience will be heard on items not on the agenda. If you'd like to talk to us tonight, again, *9, or you can raise your hand. You'll be given up to 5 minutes to address your concerns. We'll give everybody a second. And after that, Kate, we've got you coming up.
No hands, sir.
All right. Give them a quick 10 seconds and then you go ahead. How's that sound?
Me. Well, it looks like with no hands, sir, if you'd like, I'll just get started.
Yep, go ahead.
Council, I did want to remind everyone that we do have our budget workshop scheduled for next Monday, April 19th at 5 p.m. That will be held via Zoom. And then, of course, our regularly scheduled meeting at 7 p.m. I did also want to announce that we have hired a staff member for the front desk for the customer service. We'd like to welcome Cynthia Merriweather Watson to the city employee list, and we're very pleased to bring her in. She's got great energy and a great personality, and she's been just a fun person to meet. So she will be starting her duties on April 19th. I also do want to bring up that golf carts. We do have many people who have golf carts, and they will need to be inspected prior to being operated on city streets this year. Please call 637-5151 to get an inspection scheduled or to figure out what has to be on the golf cart so it can be operated this year. Again, that's the information center at the police department, 637-5151. We have a press release out. We would like to have many people checking out that what's required. I do know that police officers have been scheduling inspections and meeting with Vanderzees, which has been ordering parts that have to be put on, such as seatbelts. So we are working on that right now, and I'm sure that Chief Thompson will have more information for us next week.
Very good. Thanks, Kate. Thanks for that update. Congratulations to Miss Cynthia Merriweather. That's good news. I look forward to having her down there. Very good. All right. If nothing else, any questions for Miss Kate from anybody? Everyone's quiet. Thanks, Kate. Appreciate it.
Thank
All
you.
right. Let's go ahead and run through city council comments. How about Joe Reeser? Kick us off.
Most companies, when they set goals and objectives at the beginning of the year, they try to review them, or at least a few of them, every meeting all year. I'd like to suggest that we on City Council take a look at our 10 goals, our 10 objectives for the year, and at least pick one of them for every City Council meeting and have somewhat of a discussion about it, or have someone in staff review our progress towards accomplishing them. I think the worst thing we could do is let them sit, and I know some of them we're going to hit all year long, but to have some of them sit and not be discussed until the last quarter of the year. So if there's a way we could have staff or the mayor look at these and pick a couple, or at least one for every city council, so we're discussing them and staying on top of our goals, our priorities.
We can do,
Thanks.
we can do it. Very good. Yeah, I know we've done some quarterly things before, but yeah, we can look at the goals and break them apart and have discussions on how we want to look at them, because there's frequently we're doing things related to goals and we just don't call it out as a goal item, but we can make sure we call it out. Very good. Steve Schlock,
I would just say I'm receiving a lot of feedback regarding the golf cart ordinance. From anywhere from dealerships will not, they'll sell you the seat belts, but they will not install them for liability reasons. From that to some confusion on the packet that they're receiving to maybe from the police department, I guess, maybe they're giving out the packages to see the requirements. So there's some confusion there. So maybe by next week, we can get a report from Natalie or something as to what we're handing out. And there just seems to be some confusion. I'm getting a lot of questions and a lot of feedback, and 99% of the feedback is negative. That's all my comments for tonight. Thank you.
Sounds good. Thanks, Steve. I know I've talked to Vanderzee. They're very interested in doing the installations of the equipment and whatnot. And if people have other vendors, I mean, by far, by all means, go ahead. I think right now the question, I don't know, I've talked to Kate about this, but that's just the process to make sure if people are in the queue for getting their work done, but they're waiting for parts, do we have a provisional something at least saying they're in the process of getting their equipment done? So I know maybe by next week we can talk some more about that too. But good questions. And I've had a variety of questions on that, Steve, as well. Had some folks also kind of not wondering if it impacts the mules or the other vehicles, which it does not, because many of those already have the requirements that were, like seat belts, they're already in there, brake lights and whatnot, they're already on those vehicles. So that's, if people are asking, it's just for the golf carts. All right.
Yeah, I can say that a lot of the confusion in the packet that they're mentioning to me is it combines the ORV with the golf cart.
Okay.
In the information. So possibly maybe we can separate that out better so that it's
good.
Strictly the changes in the golf cart or something at this point.
Perfect. No, that's good to know.
Might help. So,
Perfect.
thank
Thank you for bringing that up. Ms. Letitia, good evening. And how's education going?
Good evening. Education is going, today was our first day back and I'm still a little tired. I'm not like Mr. Arnold. I don't have all that extra energy, but I don't have any other comments.
Very good. Well, welcome back. All right. How about George? What's happening?
Yeah, I would just like to thank city staff for their hard work in getting the city ready for summer. I've seen a lot of cleaning happening at the beaches and the parks, and everything's looking really good. So thank you for that.
I'll ditto that. Agreed. Thank you, George. Mr. Campbell, good evening.
Yeah, good evening. No comment tonight.
All right, very good. Well, my son was taking pictures of different surf shops in Florida to share with you, so you'll be seeing
good.
pictures
Good.
soon. So very
We
good.
could use them back. So
There you go. All right, Mr. Jeff Arnold.
Good evening. My only comment, just something I had discussed with Kate earlier, and Kate, maybe you could help remind people, spring cleaning. It's spring cleaning time, and we are going to send the leaf vacuum trucks back out. Could you speak to that quickly?
I absolutely can. So again, this is spring cleaning time. This is when many people either leave glue into your yard over the winter and after you'd already cleaned it out, or maybe you were more diligent in the spring than you were in the fall. So if you can get those things out to the curb, we do have a leaf truck that can come around. If you've just put some leaves out on the curb and you want to make sure they get picked up before they get blown around, just call 637-0737. Let the Public Works folks know that you've got some leaves out there to get picked up, and we'll be around to get those cleaned up. I know that we've put something on our city website for the last 2 or 3 weeks that we have been doing spring cleanup, and to just call that number 637-0737 to make sure that if you need something picked up, we can get that out there.
Thanks. The other one, and maybe it's just not been scheduled yet. I know at the DPW, there's always a big recycling event in the spring, but that might not be until May. Do we know if has that been scheduled?
I think that's in May, and I think that's with the Van Buren County Conservation District. They're the ones who usually do the pickup, and it's usually for electronics and other things. Is that correct, Bill?
That is correct.
Okay. So we got a little time on that one.
Sure do.
Okay, that was all my comments and questions.
All right,
All
thanks,
right,
Jeff.
very good. And Mr. Arnold, all's good in your education world? Everything's going well?
Yeah, we have the SAT test tomorrow, so
Oh,
probably
boy.
have some sleepless juniors tonight.
All right.
Nervous
very
about
good.
that test.
Good luck to our juniors. Let's get some good scores going.
Yep.
All right, very good. And that takes to me. All right. And again, I just wanted, I'll be quick. Again, just thank staff, Bill, the work on the power outage and just communicating, which is great. I kind of jokingly have said, I seem to leave town a lot during power outages because I've had so few power outages in my 20+ years in this community. And so I was in Florida when my phone started lighting up and asking us what was up with the power, to which I could only respond, my power is perfect down here in Florida, but I'm maybe you should just track my whereabouts and then staff up for that. So other than that, again, thanks for it. I did talk to Kate a little bit about maybe just some communication with our businesses, just to kind of a quick message out, or I know we put it on the website, but just maybe some to blast out to our businesses on if there's an outage, so we can talk about that later. So other than that, thanks council for your work. Thanks public for tuning in, and I will seek a motion to adjourn.
Steve Schlack, I'll make a motion to adjourn.
George Sleeper, second.
We have a motion, we have a second. Let's get a roll call, please.
Reeser,
Yes.
Schlack,
Yes.
Sleeper,
Yes.
Wilkins,
Yes.
Arnold,
Yes.
Campbell,
Yes.
Yes, and we are adjourned, and see everybody here in a week. So thanks all for tuning in.